Konnichiwa.
Howdy, y'all.
I'm Leslie.
I'm Laurie. Welcome to
Sumo Kaboom.
Sumo Kaboom,
where we talk about all things sumo.
That's right. And today we're getting to the Banzuke, and some new guys that are coming up from Juryo that are really, really fine young men to be excited about.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm always excited about some new guys up in Makuuchi, but I'm very excited to talk about my guy today.
Yeah, me too. Me too. But first, congratulations to our raffle winners. Hannah won one prize package, and I'm getting that in the mail today. And on to you, Hannah, in Canada. So congratulations to you. The other person is a mystery person. If you are listening and you gave us a donation on coffee on the 10th of October, there's a chance that you didn't leave your name. Right. So go back to coffee and see if you left your name, because I want you to check the messages there. You won.
Right.
Unnamed person.
Make sure everybody go to your spam folder, right? Because it could be like, you're like, or you just accidentally deleted it.
Or you don't take notifications from coffee.
That's very true.
Yeah. So if you gave us a donation near the beginning of October for raffle tickets, go back and check your messages from coffee. Go back to the coffee account and see if you have a message from me that says, hey, mystery person, you won. Because one of you out there is our other prize winner. I don't know your name and I have no other way to contact you. So check your coffee account and look for that message. So we have two winners. I guess we'll just hold on to this prize package until the end of the month. And if that person doesn't contact us, I did pick a third winner.
That's right.
We picked a third winner.
We picked it back up just in case.
Yes.
But we want to make sure everybody who's listening now go and double check and see if there's a message from KO-FI. It would be coffee and us, Sumo Kaboom. And you could be a winner. I mean, this is like the lottery. You could be like a $250 million winner, but you got to check your check your email or your spam folder.
Check your card. That's right. So there's one game. Second, our bingo game should get off and running this week. If you want to join us for some bingo fun, go to our website for all the information, or check our socials, check your e-newsletter when it comes in, and please join us to play bingo. It's free. It's fun. It's a super great way to get to know the sumo wrestlers as our new Banzuke will be put into action next week.
And what can people win?
You can win wonderful prizes from Robert, a big sumo fan. Big sumo fan. They have been our friends since we started this bingo game almost. Yeah, he has been with us all along. He's wonderful. If you are in the U.S. and you want sumo merch, he is one of the most wonderful places to go to get your sumo merch, bigsumo.com. Or you can just play bingo with us. And if you win...
It's Big Sumo, or is it bigsumofan.com?
bigsumofan.com.
Yeah. And basically, whoever's our Kachikoshi winner gets my jam, and it's fig jam. It happens to be my favorite recipe. So you're going to get that. But then, for our other winners and that winner, you usually get a gift card. So you can buy any kind of merch you want.
And I haven't talked to Robert yet, but last year for this tournament, he was giving away sumo calendars. So there's a good chance you can get a sumo calendar if you win, y'all. Just saying. You should play with us.
So are you ready for a news flash?
Yeah.
All right. All right. I just want to give a little shout out. Sometimes we have artisanal sumo merchandise artists who reach out to us and let us know that they do something sumo, or they do something that they want to kind of present to sumo fans. So we have a really great guy who sent us these awesome silkscreen sumo t-shirts of his favorite guy. I think it was Tobizaru, and it's really like great shirts. He's very small, artisanal, and if you like his work, we're going to be putting up a video this week probably of the shirts that he sent us. You're more than welcome to reach out to Sam and see if that's something you'd like to collaborate with him on. And his handle on Instagram is abufabi, Abufabi. Yeah, so I want to give him a little shout out and a thank you for those awesome t-shirts. And yeah, I just love it. Like all of you out there do sumo hobbies. Sometimes we get sumo aprons, we get handcrafts like the wooden sticks. Like some of you are carpenters. Like everybody has these mad skills, and maybe I need to have my own artisanal sumo merch shop and like put all of these artists on one platform. But
sometimes we get incredible boxes filled with Japanese candies and a signed autograph from Aonishiki.
Yes.
I'm just saying thank you, Angie. You're amazing. We just love having sumo people who are as crazy about sumo as we are all over the world. We're so delighted to have friends like you with skills and with incredible generosity and creativity. So thanks for just being on this ride with us.
That's right. Okay, more sumo news though. Did you know that if you are a yokozuna of the past and present, that before the Kyushu basho, they always have a yokozuna luncheon?
No,
did you know that?
I did not.
Yes, and it is for them to bond in friendship.
That should inspire someone to do the work necessary to become a yokozuna, to go get your free luncheon before the November tournament.
Exactly. Yeah. So I was like, oh, well, that's a cool little perk. They don't tell you about that when you become a yokozuna. Fun stuff also from the Mongolian side of things. Asakoryu, speaking of former yokozunas, he probably wasn't there. I don't know, maybe he was there, but I don't think he was there. I think he lives in Mongolia now most of the time. But anyway,
he's invited.
I'm sure he gets the invite. Absolutely. If not, what a shame. He is currently scouting for basketball players because he's thinking about owning a team, and he's looking for Japanese basketball players to bring on over for his business.
That's interesting.
Basketball is wildly popular in Mongolia. And so there are 17 domestic teams, and he wants there to be more. So he is putting it out there that he is scouting for some basketball players. So let's make that happen. If you're listening and you happen to be a Japanese basketball player. Some other interesting news. This is the first time in 28 years since the Wakanohana and Takanohana, brother Yokozuna era that I came into the sport, that all 90 days of the tournaments have been officially sold out. That's amazing. They have not had
that long?
Sold out crowds for 28 years for every single tournament. That happened on November 2nd.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So sumo fandom is spreading.
Yeah.
So, it ebbed and flowed over the years with all kinds of scandals and then COVID and all of that. But they finally, officially, for the first time, sold out all 90 days of all 6 tournaments. Way to go.
Oh, wow. That's
also,
incredible. I'm very happy to hear that.
Yeah. Sumo love is spreading.
Yeah.
They had another college sumo championship. It was held at the Kokugikan. It was the 102nd National Student Sumo Championship, held on the 3rd. And it was basically Nippon Sports Science University. They kind of have a stronghold on a lot of these things. So it was their top wrestler who was, I think they're Mongolian. Right? And then it was up against one of their, I think, freshman guys who's also there, also from Mongolia. So it was like a bunch of Mongolia sumo love going on there. But he, both those guys, I'm sure in enough time we will start to see them make their way into the world of pro sumo.
That's exciting.
But they look big and they look great. So I also saw a video of people who had posted the champion from that, like for the last 5 or 6 years. Mm-hmm. And like you saw Mitake Yumi, you saw like Shodai, you saw Hokuta Fuji in there. And it's great to see them with their short hair, like when they're right out of college. So that's fun. A new apprentice examination was held, speaking of new apprentices, and we have another nephew of Asakoryu, who signed up for sumo, and Musashi Maru's nephew. So there's 2 more nephews, and the Daniel is Musashi Maru's or Musashigawa Oyakata's nephew. So that is the stable that he is in. And then Asakoryu's nephew, his name is Sursvadi Lugsangombo, and he's at Shikoyama Beya. Both are 18 years old. Asakoryu's nephew's like 6'1", so he has height. I think he wanted to be in baseball, and I don't know, switched his tune maybe with
two people in your family who are doing very well at a sport. Yeah. Why not?
Right? So that's going to be kind of interesting to see him come up and see how well he's
trying to start a basketball team. I mean, that's wild success there.
Yeah. And Musashi Gawa's nephew is on the smaller side of things. So it should be interesting to see kind of how he fits into that stable with his small size and see if he takes kind of this Ishiura, track. Or if
he's 5'5"?
Yeah. He's like, it said it's like 5'4", 5'5".
No. Well, he's still growing then.
Well, he's 18, but that's the thing. I'm like, I have a hard time believing that that's the
5'4". No.
I don't know. But we'll see. So that's kind of fun. We've got some more sumo relatives coming on in to the sport. And that's about all I have for news.
We didn't have a chance to talk about this last week, so let us jump right into the Banzuke for Kyushu 2024, the basho that is about to start in about a week. We'll start at the top, work our way down. We're going to go through this pretty quickly because there's 2 new guys at the bottom, and we want to be able to tell you about them because they're really exciting.
Yeah.
And I want you to know more about them. Okay?
Let's just both say they're both adorable.
Yeah, they are both for very different reasons.
For very different reasons, both adorable.
Yeah.
But we're going to spend a good amount of time on talking about these.
And we're going to help
athletes.
you fall in love with the 2 newbies that are coming in right at the bottom. But I needed to go through this Banzuke before this tournament. Because, see, I don't know about you, but since we were in Japan watching sumo in person, we were there very involved at the beginning of the basho, and then we traveled some. So for me, I lost track a little bit of the sumo, or I wasn't watching it in quite the same way that I usually do.
Well, we were watching in the train station.
Exactly. And I wasn't keeping track of the scores. I wasn't keeping track of even kachikoshi, makikoshi for a lot of that.
Yeah, we were kind of tuned out because, you know what? They're Japan.
Yeah, we were there in person.
We were doing Japan.
Yeah. And so when I looked at the Banzuke, I found a lot of surprises, and I just think... I just thought, I need some reminders here. I have to look at how people did at that last Banzuke. So I think this is more for me and my brain to help set me up for next week than anything. At the very top, of course, we have our Yokozuna, Teruno Fuji, who reports on Teruno Fuji.
Well, he is very tight-lipped, and that usually means he's not showing up. So he did do a doyo iri the other day for a shrine, and he went and did all the pomp and circumstance and wrestled with the kids and prayed for the future of these young sumo lads. But he's still very tight-lipped about the tournament. So I assume that he won't. And I think the rumor mill also says, he's getting older. It's harder for him to rebuild that muscle mass when he's lost it by not competing. So yeah, I don't anticipate seeing him at all.
He has had major struggles with the diabetes coming back up. Yeah. And we've seen photos of him looking noticeably thinner.
Yeah. Which maybe he's getting his diabetes on track. Maybe he's changing his eating habits, but all of that may,
I don't know.
He's been in the gym too. He's been building at the gym, but not sparring, not at practice.
Yeah. From the waist up, the man looks like a beast any way you look at him.
Yeah.
And if he feels strong enough and he shows up, it would be exciting to watch him again, because I, for one, absolutely love to watch him wrestle. So it all depends on what he says. Okay. But he's earned the ability to not show up.
Right.
He has fought for that. And so...
Well, and towards the end of Hakaho's career, he was taken off, his body was beat and he had enough wins. So he's like, I'm going to do this on my terms. Thank you.
Yeah. So we'll find out on day 1 if we're going to have a Yokozuna. I'll be surprised if we do, but I'll be thrilled. So that brings us to the rank of Ozeki. We have 2 Ozeki that have been here before. We've got Kotozakura and Hoshoryu. Both of them ended the last basho with kachikoshis, but just barely. They both ended with 8 7.
Yeah. I mean, both have remarked how they were not happy about that.
And talk a little bit about like what an ozeki is supposed, like the numbers that an ozeki is supposed to have.
They're supposed to bring in 10, at least 10.
Yeah,
10 is
digits.
bare minimum. So if they get 8, they get a little nervous, and that's like a passing. That's like a C, you know? So they need to come in with a A-, B+ average, and that's
With double digits. Yeah.
And acceptable A+ is winning the Yusho. So, yeah, both of those guys were sparring, and they were Kotozakura. I mean, you can't ever put too much weight on Keiko right now. But they were sparring today, and it looked like Kotozakura took all of them. But Onosato is back with taking a lot of time off because he got the adenovirus. Well, I don't know what he basically had some sort of snot disease. That's official. Some sort of cold or whatever, or flu or something. But he had to take time off, and his muscles probably atrophied a little bit because it was kind of a little bit more than just a 3-day cold. He had to take time off of the tour. So he's back in action. He says his body's feeling great, as it should be, and he's double downing on all of his practice. But again, sparring against Kotozakura, he did not do well. But hey, Kotozakura is great. He's in good shape. And I expect for him, he's going to continue to push for the Yokozuna position, which is what he wants.
If you look at their records, Kotozakura started super strong in September and then dropped a bunch in the last 5 days. Hoshoryu was kind of the inverse. He started rough and then had a string of wins and then kind of finished a little rougher as well. I, for one, would absolutely love for Kotozakura to win one, because he still has yet to win a basho. Right. And I sure would love to see that kid win. But that's super exciting. I think what everybody's giggling about is nipping at their heels and coming in as a brand new ozeki is our third ozeki, Onosato, who won the last basho. And one of the big stories is, wouldn't it be exciting if he wins 2 in a row? I don't know if you saw it, but there was a post where he got into the ring with Kisena Sato, his oyakata.
Oh, yeah, I did that.
Did you see that?
The living bejesus out of him.
Because he was like, you are now an ozeki, so you get ozeki level practice. Because if you want to go for Yokozuna, this is what you need to be prepared for. Yeah, and the kid
was out of breath for like 7 minutes, and yeah. So yeah, he ain't ready. But
I don't know. I mean, that is one of the big questions that people are already like twittering about. You know, is can this kid go higher? At what point? If he wins with a dominant win this time, could it be now, or would they make him wait, or how would that happen? That's all going to be part of this basho, especially if he does well. The rank below. Anything else you want to say about Onosato? The man's beautiful. The man's tall.
I've been snooping. I feel like he has a child already, because in this...
What? I've never heard that.
Okay, well, I saw in one of the videos when he won and he was holding up the trophy, there's like his mom and his dad, and then this beautiful young woman who has a brand new baby in her arms. And I was like, and she's surrounded by a bunch of old dudes, and it's not his only sister, because he has a sister. And I was like, oh, methinks that's a beautiful new wife who's yet to be married. Like they're yet to be married.
Haven't seen any announcements.
No, there's not going to be an announcement. They won't do it till, like, he just became ozeki. They are not going to do it till February, when they do all the love stuff.
So we'll find out in February.
Yeah, but she's beautiful. Otherwise, it's some other guy's beautiful daughter. She, like, had the baby and, like, made the baby look at him.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. That looks too much like... Look at your child. You did it for our child. Anyway.
Well, he has a picture of manhood, so I can imagine that he would be like, you know what? I'm doing well. How about we start a family?
That's right.
Babe.
That's the way the rest of them do it.
Yep. Okay, at one rank behind them, at Sekewake, we have Kirishima, which is exciting.
Yeah, because if he gets the wins, if he got 13 wins, he can get his ozeki back.
Well, he had, the last basho, he had a 12-3 record.
Right.
He came in second. He did wildly well.
Right.
The one before then, he had 8 wins. So that's 20 wins he has so far. If he could somehow pull out 13 plus wins, he could go back to Ozeki. I think everybody's excited because they're thinking, oh, it's so nice to see him doing so well again.
Everybody loves him. So
yes.
So want him to be doing well.
Yeah. Of course. Everybody loves Kirishima, and they want him right back up there in Ozeki or higher. And back at the Sekewake rank is Daisho this time, who was Komusubi, pulled in 8-7 in actually the last 2 bashos, and has been able to climb back up to the Sekewake rank. And it feels great to have him here because anybody, I mean, the man is a fierce pusher thruster, and you have got to figure out how to beat Daisho if you want to go higher.
Yeah, if you can't do that, then...
He's got a singular style of sumo that is just fabulous. Yeah. At the Komusubi rank...
Very excited about this.
Can we just call this like the most exciting rank of the... I don't know. All these ranks just make me so excited. On the east side, we have a return of Wakamoto Haru back up here. He finished with an 11-4 at Maegashira 3 last time. Remember he had that foot injury? It was a 2 or 3 basho ago. He injured his foot and he fell out of Sanyaku because of that. And I think that methinks the injury's gotten a lot better and he is climbing back up to, I believe he got up to Sekewake last time. So he's come back up into the Komusubi rank. I, for one, am very excited to see him here. I love that man's style of sumo. And on the other side, we have Shodai.
That's what I'm here for, is he's just up there to just rattle him. Just do his rattling.
After falling out of Sanyaku, he went all the way down to Maegashira 10, produced a 10-5 from there. They bumped him up to Maegashira 4, and he produced another 10-5.
I mean, I love it.
In September. This is the one that I completely missed during our vacation. So here he is, back at the Komusubi rank. It feels so right, doesn't it?
It does. It makes me very happy. I'm happy to see him there. This makes me very happy.
Yeah.
I love some Shodai. I love it when he does well. And he can ruin it for everybody else, which is why I love him. But because he was a former Ozeki that just never really did great, like, I will always cheer for him and Kirishima, like, to rise again from the ashes, to, like, have another shot at possibly, although Shodai doesn't care about being an Ozeki. I don't think he cares at all. He just cares, I think, about just being up there and having a little fun, shaking it up. So I will always be on his side. Yeah. Except when he's always up too high at the Tachiai. But you know what? That I don't mind. I've realized now that that's just his approach and his style, and it's so different from everybody else. You just can't count him out. So I'm excited.
Yeah. And he is one that has said, boy, that Ozeki rank, y'all, it is not that much fun. There's a lot of pressure. So I think at this rank, he'll just be carefree. Carefree and just having a good time in his sumo. Yeah. And I look forward to that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. At Maegashira 1, on the east side, here, this was another surprise to me, at his highest rank, Oho.
With his bum eye and everything.
I know, the man, boy, he got that black eye. And actually, you said he got surgery on that face?
Yep. His orbital something, orbital.
Some bone broke around his eyeball.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, I'm right back in it. I feel good. I'm wrestling. Wrestling. Can you imagine, though, like having facial surgery and then just jumping back into that ring? No, I would be a little bit wary, but I would too. He's not. He does not seem that. And I mean, for me, I've always championed him because he is the grandson of Taiho. And I've always felt like, oh my God, what a legacy to have to live up to. You know, not everybody has a grandfather that was like the most winning guy until Hakuho came along, right? So Taiho is huge, right? As far as the sport goes and fame in the sport. And there's always been such huge expectations set on him. He just hasn't taken that path that Kotozakura took. It hasn't been fast. It's been like slow and steady. And his style isn't flashy, but he gets the job done, and he's just gotten better and stayed at it. So I'm excited for his high rank, and I hope he continues higher.
You said his style is slow and steady. I just looked at it, and he has not put together double-digit wins since January of this year. All of his other ones have been, 7-8, 6-9. But the last 2 tournaments, he put together 9 6s.
Yeah.
So
I mean, and that's what I mean. Like,
yeah, slow.
He doesn't come on, and he's not like in the U-show race, but he has his own meter, like his own, like just a little bit better, just a little bit better. I'm getting more wins than losses, and he's fighting now consistently with these Sanyaku, or he's in the Joy, I think is what they call the people who fight the Sanyaku guys. So he's fighting better and better with the best of the best. So that's a lot of improvement from when he first came in, and he's fighting the lower rankers at a marginal pace.
Yeah. So he's improving. He's picking up skills right and left, and that's good. Sharing the Maegashira 1 spot with him is Hira Daumi, who was at Komasubi. Last tournament, Hira Daumi started out really well, and then he had a disastrous second half of the basho, where he dropped quite a few matches. He ended with a 7-8, so he just barely fell out. I hope, as a smaller wrestler, I hope he's not injured. I hope it's just a mental thing. He'll just pull that focus back in, and then come back guns a-blazing, as they say in
we
Texas.
love Hira Daumi. So I imagine that was just a fluke thing, or a slight injury or something.
Or it's just hard. It's just hard.
Or he just had bad gas. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Maegashira 2 rank. This is an exciting rank. Mostly, well, no, not mostly. It's exciting on both sides. On the east side, we have Wakataka Kage.
Yeah.
Who last time had a wonderful basho. He also shared the June U show. He got the Shokan show, so he got some awards. He only dropped 3 bouts last basho. He is looking strong. He got a hefty jump up from Maegashira 7 up to 2, and boy, it's so nice to look at a Banzuke and see Wakamoto Haru and Wakataka Kage only 2 ranks apart.
I know. That's really fun.
I got so excited when I saw that. Yeah. I can see a day where we could have both Waka brothers in Sanyaku, and I would not know how to contain my joy. It would be so exciting, wouldn't it?
It would be. It would be. I just hope for his
knee?
His injuries. I want him to stay injury-free. That's all I ask for. Injury-free, and get him Kachikoshi if you can.
Well, he's been looking strong as ever.
He's cautious, but fighting pretty strong.
Yeah, his blocks from the side are still legendary. His sense of, I am not going out first, is extraordinary. I just love watching his spirit in action in the ring. So it's so great to see him back up here at Maegashira 2. On the other side is Ura. Everybody's Mr. Sumo of a sort. Everybody loves this guy. He just barely, at Maegashira 5, got a Kachikoshi. He ended with 9-6. So here he is. He got a healthy bump up from there to Maegashira 2. Again, I watch him and just hope his knees hold out.
Yeah, that's all you can hope for.
Yep. Maegashira 3, we've got 2 wrestlers, Abi and Atami Fuji. Anything you want to say about them?
No, other than I'm always rooting for Atami Fuji to kind of get back up there at the top. And I mean, Abi, by the way, I'm all over the place, but I was watching, every stable has like their own YouTube channel now, and I just get caught, or like I find myself at night going to bed, going down the rabbit hole of all of these different stables, websites, and their Instagram. So I was just nothing to say other than I was just going down the rabbit hole of Abi's stable, and enjoying. He has a great smile, and I know he's been kind of the bad boy of sumo, but I like the kid. I do. I like him now. I think for a long time I was just like, I don't know about this kid. And like now I think he's got a great smile and a winning personality. So I like him there at M3.
Well, Abi last tournament started out okay, but lost 7 in a row right in the middle of the tournament. So I don't know what happened there. We'll see how he can do. here at this Maegashira 3. Atami Fuji, I remember you saying in the news several weeks ago that he's had some osteoarthritis in his hips that has been bothering him. So hopefully he's taken all of the glucosamine and the whatever you take for osteoarthritis. And he's one of those that hasn't quite figured out how to get into Sanyaku and stay there, even though I want him to be there. I really want this kid to be here.
Yeah, I think it's just his youth and inexperience. And he has such a big heart for it, but his body still has to catch up to the day-to-day, and maybe it's the strength around those hip muscles that have to become even more developed.
Well, I just think he hit a wall. Like, he rose pretty quickly, Juryo into Maegashira. In the lower ranks of Maegashira, if you look at his record, he did really well. And then as soon as he got to Maegashira 1, his records have just been like 6-9, 8-7, 7-8, 7-8. It's like he just hit the Sanyaku wall face first and has not quite figured out how to jump a little higher. So I hope he's learning whatever he can from Terunofuji back at the stable, and he'll figure out what he needs to do in order to go higher. Maegashira 4, we have 2 guys at their highest rank, Churanoumi and Oshoma.
Yep. I have nothing to say.
Nothing to say?
No.
Okay, Churanoumi, I still absolutely love this kid. Mainly because I yelled his name at him when he walked into the Kokugikan, and he's the only guy that looked over at me and acknowledged me. The rest of them completely ignored me, but Churanoumi was shocked that I knew his name, and I was probably yelling it in a very English sounding way, and he is like, now...
Is she saying my name?
Yeah, probably.
It's like the equivalent of somebody being like, Leslie.
Probably.
And you're like, I think they're saying Leslie, but I'm not quite sure.
I'm not quite sure. Well, the last 2 tournaments, he's gone 10-5. And so here he is at his highest rank. I wish nothing but the best for Churanoumi. Oshoma, he just keeps surprising me, keeps rising. He also ended with a 10-5 last time.
This is unassuming. I think that's why I never have much to say. Is nothing about him has really popped yet.
Yeah.
Maybe it's personality that I'm just not quite... I don't know enough about him, but he's a very skilled wrestler.
Yeah.
He is in the same category as Bushozan to me sometimes, where you're just like, yeah, you're good. You're here. You look kind of the same as the rest of the other big round guys, and you do some good pushing and thrusting, and good for you, but I don't know that much.
Well, I know that there are some rabid Oshoma fans out there who are very, very excited about this level and are cheering him on with gusto.
Yes.
So rock on, Oshoma. So now let's go quickly through some of these other ranks so that we can get down to the bottom. Do you have anything you want to say about M5, which is Tobizaru and Koto Shoho?
No, nothing to say besides Koto Shoho's brother, I think Koto A-ho, which I want to call him Koto A-hole. And
yes,
I think
he will just be Koto A-hole forever.
Koto Shoho and his brother Koto A-hole. Koto A-hole.
He just has to.
He's probably
retain
the
that
sweetest kid, but the most unfortunate Shikonas. So, anyway, that's really all I have to say. I mean,
that will never stop being funny to me. Koto A-hole, Koto Shoho, and Koto A-hole.
Anybody who's going to come along and be a true a-hole is just going to be named officially Koto. He's a real Koto a-hole. Anyway, no, other than there's some guys, Nishikigi's there. He's been battling
at M6.
At M6. That's battling with injuries. We've got kind of our mid-rank. I mean, Roga at M8, he's been coming up steadily fast, and he's the top
at M8.
At M8, he's coming up fast, and he's the top ranked guy in that stable. And so I feel like he's pulling up some of these other guys down below him, and I like to see his upward movement. He's Russian and Mongolian. Indo doesn't surprise me. He's just right smack dab in the middle. Mitakeyumi, Gonoyama's battled with injury, and
Leslie's skipping all over the place. She's like M7, M8, M8.
Yeah, well, I mean, these are all guys I like, but they're sitting in the middle either from injury or they're hanging out like Takanosho and Endo do. They're comfy in that place. But
Nishikigi is sitting here after going 11-4 and getting a special prize in the last basho, which I missed.
I forgot that.
Yeah.
But
so he only dropped 4 in the last basho. Now, probably because he was fighting Maegashira 13, right?
Right.
And
because he had injury before.
Yeah,
that.
exactly. But I just had to remind myself how well he did last time.
Yeah.
Nishikigi.
Yeah.
All right. So let's skip on down. I know you love at M9. I know you love Midori Fuji and Takayasu.
Yeah, that's a magical.
That's Leslie's love line.
That's my love line. I love both of those guys.
Another love line is M10, Ichi Yamamoto and Takara Fuji.
Yeah.
Takara Fuji back where he needs to be.
Yeah.
It's
Dad
great.
is back. Dad is back.
Yeah. And I think we all thought maybe he was on his way out the door with retirement when he dipped down into Juryo. But it's just so great to see him back in the top division and climbing again.
Yeah.
He's got all the mad skills. And I just like having somebody on the ring who's like, no, slow down, please.
Right.
We can take this slowly.
Right.
There's no need to rush this.
Yeah.
It's like having a calm Zen master in your sumo dojo.
Or chill dad.
Maegashira 11, Meisei, Tamawashi. Do we know anything about Tamawashi's surgery? Remember he got that growth removed out of his thigh, hamstring, something?
Don't know anything about that. But the guy, he could have brain surgery and he's going to be back in. Like, he's not missing anything. I fully expect him to be wrestling till he's 45, 47. And he'll still be in the top rank.
He's a little bit like Wakamoto Haru in that when they're on tour, everybody posts pictures of him like poking everyone else or slapping everyone else or like feeling everyone's boobies or something.
He's doing something a little mischievous.
So when he was on tour, all those photos came out.
Well, he's got like 3 girls, right? So I feel like he lives in a world of silly kids all the time.
Yeah.
So I feel like he's just one big silly kid who looks quite serious. The Iron Man of sumo.
Okay.
The one I worry about is actually Hokuto Fuji at M12. But
he was out for 3 days?
Yeah.
3 days of the tournament. He's still got his kachikoshi, though.
Yeah. You can't count him out, but I just feel like he's still young. But the way he fights with head first, I just don't know what that's doing to the rest of his body. It seems like it just all catches up. But then again, I don't know.
Do you know anything about the injury? Is it related to that knee that he never had surgery on?
I don't know anything.
See, I completely missed this Hokuto Fuji story. So if anyone's listening to us...
Hokuto Fuji story.
Yeah.
Sounds like a movie.
So y'all let us know what happened because we completely missed this story.
We could look it up, but we're going to be lazy.
We could, but we're not going to.
Yeah.
Where are we? M13. We're going real fast because we're trying to get to the bottom here. M13, Ryuden and Shonanomi. Anything you want to say there?
No, other than Shonanomi's also been dealing with injuries.
And terrible basho last time. 3-12 is where he ended.
So I don't know if
that's injury town.
That's big time injury town. So I don't think like 6 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever it is, plus the tour is really going to help somebody overcome that kind of injury.
Do you know what kind of injury it was?
I don't remember.
This is another story we missed, y'all.
Yeah, we were on vacay. Sorry.
We're just more prepped next time.
Wrestling, what?
Okay.
Let's go to Osaka.
So M14, Chiyoshoma versus Nishiki Fuji. I feel like this is the return of some of our old faves.
Yeah.
Chiyoshoma is back from Juryo after getting a 10-5 at Juryo 1.
Right?
Wow. And the other fella, Nishiki Fuji, was at M17 and ended with an 8-7, which is, an okay record. Not a sparkling record.
Right.
Not the kind of sparkle you want to produce at the bottom. But I kind of missed Chiyoshoma in a weird way.
Because he was wrestling better. He's not necessarily the Henka King anymore.
No.
So
he's not jumping out of the way as often. It's nice to see him meet people straight on.
Yeah. I agree.
Okay. M15, Onokatsu and Toki Hayate. Onokatsu, I'm just glad he's still in there getting used to these higher ranked guys. Toki Hayate, I have no memory of.
Yeah. I don't have much memory either.
I seriously thought he was a new guy.
Oh, yeah.
I think you must have done the report on him last basho, and I just can't remember anything about him.
I very well could have done the report on him. I also don't remember jack squat about him.
So he has left absolutely
zero
impression on us.
So poor guy. Somewhere out there's like a really lonely Toki Hayate fan who's sitting there with a tiny violin being like, no one gets us.
Well, last time, okay, I will say he hasn't been in the top division since
it's been like
May.
3 or 4 bashos there. 3 bashos.
So he's mostly been in Juryo. He was he had one. He was there in May of this year, and then he dropped back to Juryo. So there's a reason we don't remember him.
The same thing with Onokatsu. They do that. And this is when we start talking about the guys that we did little reports on.
No, Onokatsu, I remember him.
Yeah, but sometimes
he's
these
brand
guys,
new.
I know, but sometimes these guys do a bounce up and down. They get the bump up to Makauchi, they're like, holy moly. And I can say a lot of these guys, Nishiki Fuji, Onokatsu, some of these...
Onokatsu didn't do that, though.
Well, then some other guys typically do. They go up and then they're like, wait a second.
Toki Hayate, yeah.
Yeah, this is a little tricky. And so then they get bumped down. They hang out in the top of Juryo, get their confidence back. Then they come in again, and then the second run, sometimes the third run at Makauchi, they do okay, So he just may be taking that slow but sure route. And when you look at all the guys in the Banzuke, there's a lot of guys who've taken that slow approach. They don't skyrocket to the top like Onosato does. Some of these guys, they chip away at it, and he's chipper. He's a chipper.
He's chipper. Well, Onokatsu at M15, I remember him because he's one that has beaten Onosato, and he is rising super quickly as well. And people were expecting a lot from him last tournament because it was his first one in the top division. He didn't produce the big numbers that we all thought he would, but I think it's great that he didn't drop back into Juryo. He's still there. He got his Kachikoshi, but yeah, still has a lot to learn. Oh, no, he didn't get a Kachikoshi. He got 7-8, which is... Okay, so he he had a big jump from Juryo, and then he got 7-8 and just went from 14 to 15. Okay, that's what happened with Onokatsu. Okay, this takes us to Maegashira 16.
Well, on one side, we have the bronzed god of Takeru Fuji, who is back up, and we are all very happy to see him there. Now, if you're just joining sumo, you should know that this guy came up super fast from the bottom. He was like a college, like Yokozuna kind of did well in that. He came into sumo. He just chewed up the scenery all the way up to the top. And then from like M17, which is like a lucky position, right? He won the whole ding dang thing. And he managed to get himself injured and fight through all of that to win the Yusho, to send him all the way back down to the bottom with surgery and all of that stuff. So he's finally fought his way back up through injury and finds himself back in Makauchi where he belongs. Young guy, skinny ankles, looks gorgeous, very bronzed, very tan, and looks like a traps for days.
Steel.
He looks like a gangster. It's great.
Yeah. Unbelievably, that story is all in this year.
Yeah.
The Yusho that he won the Juryo Yusho in January of this year. Then he won the Makauchi Yusho and all of the special awards in that same Yusho in March this year. Isn't that incredible? And then he got injured and disappeared. He was out. Essentially, he was out one.
Two bashos.
And then the next basho, he tried to come back in, wasn't quite ready for it. So the last basho he was in at Juryo 11, and he won it at Juryo 11. And it's like the guys just went, you know what? He needs to be back up in the top. He just put him back up in the top. So he went from Juryo 11 West back into Makauchi.
Which is pretty generous.
Beyond generous.
Yes.
But, I mean,
it's
why
not? It's where he belongs.
Yes, exactly. So Takeru Fuji.
Not Takaru Fuji.
Nope.
Takeru Fuji.
Yes, so he's back up at M16. He's on the west side. And on the east side is this fella named ShiShi, who I just fell in love with this week. I knew a little bit about this guy, but you need to know more, okay? ShiShi is our very first Sekitori from Ukraine, ever.
Yes.
Ever. And he has the crowd behind him because obviously what's happening in his home country.
Right.
And because of his story. He's got an amazing relationship with his parents. He's got just the cutest personality, which I will tell you about.
Does.
And his style of sumo. And I will tell you about all of that. But first of all, you need to know that this man, he's very vocal about the fact that he sends half of his pay back home to support his family in the Ukraine. He talks with them on the phone for hours every day, according to Chris Sumo on YouTube. And when he found out that he was going to be in Makuuchi this time, it was a bit of a surprise. But he said, and I'm quoting, "I'm so happy. I'm going to call my mom."
Yes, I read that too.
Yeah.
I read up about him too because I wasn't sure who we were going to feature.
Yeah.
And so I started down the rabbit hole of him and I was like, that sounds horrible. But I started down the path of researching ShiShi and found him incredibly charming.
Yes.
And everything he's saying is just honorable and sweet and humble.
Yeah. And he says things like this all the time. Right now, my mom and dad are having a hard time, so I have to do my best. I'll work hard, earn lots of money, and send it to them. So his parents and grandmother are still in the Ukraine, but he's got a brother who's a refugee in Japan, in Saitama. So he comes from a family that's kind of living in two countries right now. So when you see him up there, you'll recognize him. He is a big Eastern European white guy up there, who kind of has the bottom half of Tochinoshin.
Yeah, I would say he's like a distantly related body type of Tochi.
Yeah. He's bottom heavy. But I mean, who isn't up there? He's got huge, powerful legs, like Nishikigi style legs. But he doesn't have the Tochinoshin upper body. He doesn't quite have the strength of the upper body. A lot of people say that he reminds them of Baruto.
Yeah.
Who was a little bit before my time. I'm not that familiar with Baruto, but if we have any listeners out there who know who he is.
He looks very much like Baruto.
Yeah. I'll give you one guess who his favorite wrestler is.
I don't know.
Tochinoshin.
Tochi? Okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be like Tochi.
Yeah. So he's 6'3.5" so almost 6'4", almost 400 pounds. He's like 375. Let me tell you a little bit about his history first. He started wrestling at the age of 6, but he played lots of other sports too. He was the goalkeeper in soccer, probably because he wasn't much of a runner. He was more of like...
he was bottom heavy then.
Well, he was a big kid from the beginning. But he played I shouldn't say football, soccer. He played basketball. He played volleyball. He did lots of stuff. His mom says that he was never afraid of pain. Because and she'll say things like he comes from this ancestor on his father's side who was a strong man, and he fought alongside Nestor Makhno, who I had to look up, and he was this anarchist revolutionary and commander of the Revolutionary Insurgent Army of Ukraine. So here's the point. His mom makes the point that he is related to fighters and he feels no pain.
Oh, okay.
That is the major point.
Yes. Okay.
This kid feels no pain. Okay. So he started wrestling when he was younger, European-style wrestling, but he went over the weight limit. Like there's a weight limit that says you cannot wrestle as a kid if you're over 276 pounds.
You're going to hurt somebody.
Yeah. So he was already over the weight limit by age of 10.
Okay, so he was a big boy.
Yeah, tall and big, and he's still tall and big. And so he eventually went into sumo, probably because some smart person said, well, you can't do this style of wrestling, but you can do this style.
Right.
And so he got into sumo, and he got more into sumo and started going to amateur sumo events. He won the European Sumo Championships in 2012. He went to the World Championships in 2016, where he finished 3rd. And at those events, there are pro sumo scouts hanging out, looking for big, tall European or any kind of wrestler out there. And so he was invited to Japan to see if life at a sumo stable was for him. And he moved to Japan, and he was so lonely. He was so homesick. He had real trouble with the language.
The language was tough.
Yeah.
He still has a hard time with the language. He's doing good now. His interviews were good.
He's doing better. He speaks Russian, some Ukrainian, but he grew up speaking Russian, but he didn't speak English or Japanese. And so he cried a lot.
Oh, God
and he
bless.
sat in parks by himself alone all the time. Which I'm not laughing. It's just the image of a big boy who's homesick in another country and trying to learn the language and doing sumo. It's just a sweet image. You just want to protect him.
Support his family who's going through hell. So
yes. So he trained at one stable, but then that stable didn't have an opening for a foreign wrestler. He had to switch to another one, but he stuck with it and decided to really commit to pro sumo in 2020. His first pro sumo tournament was unfortunately the one that got canceled due to COVID.
Okay.
But he kept going. There's a story about how he broke one of his front teeth in a tachi one time, but he didn't feel the pain.
Well, of course. Yeah. Because he's the descendant of warriors.
Exactly. It's taken him 4 years to get to the top division. He's had a nice slow rise, but here he is making his debut at Maegashira 16. ShiShi.
ShiShi.
So ShiShi has multiple skills. His sumo, he can do pushing sumo really well. He's got super long arms, really, really long arms. So he's great at pushing and thrusting, but he's actually more comfortable with belt sumo, he says. So he's great with yorikiris. So he is diverse in his style, and his size is a real asset.
Right.
So his sumo looks different.
What stable is he at again?
Well, it's funny because it's a stable where the master retired and it changed names.
Oh.
So it used to be the Uruma Gawama stable, and it has changed to something that is not right in front of me.
Well, the one, Ikazuchi is the one that's on the official JSA website.
So that's the one it's changed to.
Ikazuchi.
And he was also at the Tokitsukaze. He's been at several stables. Yeah. But because of changes of oyakatas and things, that's where he is now. But when you watch him, you'll notice that his sumo looks different. It has a different flavor, a different flair to it. He's not as low. The angles are different because he's taller and he's got those longer arms, but he also has noticeably less hip flexibility than most of the wrestlers. Here's a quote from him. He says, now remember, this kid doesn't speak Japanese very well. Right. Okay, so when I read this quote, it'll sound strange. Which is the good sumo? When my knee is facing inward, I lose. So I want to fix it. My body is hard and I can't split my crotch like the Japanese. Yeah. So the man that wrote the article, or the person that wrote the article here, says, ShiShi opens his legs to the author, who is surprised by the unexpected fact. It is true that it is only open to about 120 degrees. When he is pushed back from behind in that state, he says it hurts, and says kanashiji and pretends to cry in a charming man. So
I think that just means in ballet terms, he does not have good turnout.
Yeah, he doesn't have great turnout. And you'll notice it in the tachi. When he goes down on the tachi, you'll be like,
it's more like a linebacker's approach.
Yeah, it looks like a football player rather than a sumo wrestler.
His name is Serhiy Sokolovsky.
Yeah, which sounds very Russian, doesn't it?
It does.
Yep. He says not only is he working on the flexibility, but that's probably not going to come super quickly. He says he needs to work on his stamina. He says 15 days in a row of sumo is really hard for him.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see how he does in that second week. He's just like normal kids in that his favorite foods are McDonald's and pizza.
Okay, that tracks.
Yep.
And McDonald's in Japan is really good. I mean, I ate it in America and I ate it in Japan. And after having heat exhaustion, I'd say it's far better than our American McDonald's, even though I don't really eat much McDonald's. But it was good. It was really good.
Good. A few other things about him that make me love him even more. He still has trouble with the language, as I said.
Well, so do I.
Me three. He relies heavily on his Tsukebito, who is a Sandamne wrestler. So it's someone who's ranked lower than him, but he translates for ShiShi. And whenever reporters come to talk to him, they're really amused by the relationship because ShiShi relies super heavily on this kid for translation and treats him like a brother, like is really just so sweet and so nice to this boy who is helping him figure out the language. Even though this other kid says he doesn't understand Russian, he must speak a little bit of English and must be able to use his Japanese and English in order to be able to help ShiShi in these circumstances. But it's really sweet in interviews because when people talk to him in Japanese, they talk very slowly, which I appreciate. Is the only Japanese I can understand because they're speaking to him kind of like a toddler, but they're very respectful. And then ShiShi kind of turns to his tsukebito and tries to communicate and then uses his helper to communicate. And he often speaks in these short little sentences.
And the interview I watched, he actually did pretty well. He seemed like he had a full comprehension of the Japanese language. His responses were a little bit short. But then he could go on and explain something. The interview I watched was with him and his oyakata. So
yeah. And you can see how hard he's concentrating when he does those interviews in Japanese. Like he's really looking at the mouth of the speaker and you could see his brain going. And that, I mean, but for me personally,
he's smiling and he's
it.
like, he's got a good spirit about him. So
yeah, absolutely. And he's starting to make jokes in Japanese too. Like, here's a little Japanese for you. Urashi means happy. And so when he is happy, he'll say, I am urashishi.
Yeah.
Or the word for difficult is muzukashi. So if something's hard for him, he'll say it's muzukashishi. Right? Like, that's really sweet.
That's funny.
Okay, one more piece of his story that I want you to know because I was so happy to discover this one. He's also sometimes taught wrestling by the wife of his oyakata. He calls her Mama, but her real name is Emi. And she is a 3-time women's heavyweight champion from Nihon University.
Yes.
A pioneer in women's sumo. And here's one story. ShiShi was injured and needed to learn to cut in from the left rather than from the right like he usually does. And his master was away because his master judges a lot and it takes him away from morning practice often. So his wife will jump in and she will teach ShiShi, which I adore. I absolutely love that there is this woman.
I think we've chatted about her before.
No, I've never.
Yeah, when we talked about Okami-san, we had the Dr. Okami-san, and I think we had another one. I thought we chatted about her before, that there was a wife who was a former wrestler. There's all kinds of fascinating wives in the sport.
And there's great interviews of her out there where she talks a lot about how she's not only trying to change the atmosphere and make it more acceptable for women so that maybe her daughter can be a pro sumo wrestler one day, but also she wants to change the atmosphere of sumo into a kinder place. Some place where a sumo wrestler is, it's not a strict training place, but it's more like a family. So you can see in all of the videos from this Heya, she's treating him exactly like a son. And it's just so sweet. So sweet to see. And I'm just so glad that this homesick Ukrainian kid ended up in a sumo environment like that. In a kind place where the Okami-san is in the ring with him, teaching him sumo skills sometimes. What's not to love about that? So that is ShiShi. I cannot wait to see how he does. And he is at M16, that brings us to M17. On the west side, we have Busho-san. And on the east side, we have Asakoryu.
Now, this is considered a lucky position. So everyone's pretty excited. I'm pretty excited about Asakoryu. Asakoryu is... when I saw him in person, I'm like, who is this tiny doll in the dojo?
You
I was obsessed.
Poked my arm. You were like, look at that guy. Look at that guy. Look at that guy.
Obsessed with him, his body, and mostly his hair. Because in person, he looks like a doll, like a sumo doll, where his body is smaller and his head is enormous with hair. He has so much hair. And we don't know if it's Napoleon syndrome, and that's why they style his hair so big. But when you look at him in person, he's this tight little tank engine, real skinny.
Shaped like
not skinny, but he's like
Ishiura.
He's
got buns of steel.
Enho area of like physicality. He's only 5'8". Some websites say 5'10", but I'm like, I would say 5'8" as a stretch. He looks like he's like 5'7" and maybe even 5'6". He's 260 is about how much he weighs, or 122 kilograms. His name is Asakoryu Takuma, and his real name is Ishizaki Takuma, and he was born in 98. And he's from Osaka. Now, one of the schools that we talk about is Totori, or we talk about all the other schools. When I did all this research for, looking at Hoshoryu's nephew and like the sumo championship that was there, and then his background, I kept seeing this school pop up. And it's another one of these junior high schools that is kind of like a feeder school right into Nippon Sports Science University, which is like a feeder right into Nakamura Oyakata's stable or Nishonoseki's, stable. And this school is Meitoku Gijuku. And it's a junior high and high school that just seems to pump out a whole ton of sumo kids, like school-age sumo kids. So that's where he got his start. Now, he actually started younger than that, and he's childhood friends with Gonoyama, and I couldn't quite find the article to explain that, but there's some cute, adorable pictures of him and baby Gonoyama at like
Asakoryu
and Gonoyama. And Gonoyama's, of course, bigger.
Yeah. I think I did see that photo.
They're like maybe 4 or 5. It's pretty cute.
But already you can see that Asakoryu is much smaller.
Yes.
Yeah, than Gonoyama.
Exactly. So he also was surprised to find himself in Makuuchi. He's like, I'm half happy, half surprised. But he made a bigger jump from Juryo East 8 in the last tournament. He had an 11-4 in the last tournament. So that's a big jump.
They're just like, as long as we're taking Takeru Fuji, we might as well take you. You're popular.
You're popular and you got great hair.
Yeah.
He said he's half surprised, half happy. And you can see the picture of him in the Banzuke. He's just like, I feel like I'm getting away with like murder. I should not be here, but like, this is the greatest thing. He said about himself, he thinks probably people think I've taken a little bit too much time to get up to the Makuuchi, but I think it's important to think about the future instead of the past. And he says, maybe when he joined, it hasn't always been easy for him. And he has a bad habit of becoming sloppy towards the end of the bout. So mentality is kind of what he's working on. And I assume he will take maybe a slower approach up there. He's going to have to, because he's taken a slower approach to get to this point. It should be noted, he's actually, I think, 2 years older than Onosato. So because he went to Nippon Sports, all of those guys came up. Shirakuma, Onosato, they were younger than him, and he very much has a big spirit that wants to like compete with those guys. He
big
knows
spirit,
them. Small body. Yes, maybe it is Napoleon syndrome, but he's got he's so muscular, and he's adorable to listen to. He's sweet. He's kind of congenial, has a deep voice, and seems to be pretty honest, which I always like. He doesn't seem like he seems like too sumo formal like Koto Zakura is, He is where all the asas come from. Asanoyama, Asashoryu. He is Asakoryu. Takasago is the stable. This should be noted for both of these stables that we've talked about, ShiShi and with Asakoryu. Both of their oyakatas, they took over. These are their first guys they've raised up. So they're both young coaches, but they're in their 40s. They're younger guys, and this is huge for them. They're very proud of their guys that have made it up too, because this is their first guy that's made it up to Makuuchi. He has humility written on his phone because he says, Asakoryu says that he can be big-mouthed sometimes. And so he has to remind himself with humility written on his phone that's the outlook, or he wants to be a little bit more humble instead of say the things that inside he wants to say. So he came in 2021 and he won, I think Sandame, he won the tournament. Then he was bumped up to Makushita And then he was in Makushita for 2 years. And then he was in Juryo for a year. So most of his results, he had, I think, one little injury in there or something. But for the most part, he's had mostly winning tournaments. But his specialties are pushing, Migiyotsu, and Yorikiri. So I think he's kind of got multiple tools.
But he's fast. He's small.
Very fast,
quick.
very small. And
that's his thing. It's, if you're a small wrestler, you got to be fast.
Right. His favorite foods are chicken breast, yakiniku, and eel. And his hobby is weight training, which is obvious.
Yeah. Very obvious. Especially the top of the shoulders, neck. He loves to lift those weights. He loves that.
He also has a younger brother that's also at Takasaga with him. And that's Ishizaki Ryoma. And he is in Makushita. One thing I want to read to you verbatim about this kid. During his childhood, this is on the Japanese Wikipedia, by the way, his mother imposed very strict training on him, forcing him to do 1,300 push-ups every day, and even bought him a punching bag to practice hitting with. If his movements were not good, his sister would beat him with a stick.
Goodness.
Well, one day his father, unable to bear this type of Spartan-like training, got angry and stepped in to stop it. But before he knew it, his father and him were both being scolded.
Wow.
So methinks this might be partially Mom's dream.
Yeah.
I think, though, once he continued on through it, maybe he did find he enjoyed it. And he won
push-ups.
Lots of awards, like all Japan championships and sumo student championships. He was captain of the sumo club. And I think for him, he seems, even if his mother pushed it on him, I don't know why they would share that story. He seems to be motivated to catch up to his classmates. And I think he might struggle a little bit because of his size. But again, that didn't stop a lot of the other small guys. It's just you worry about injury with these guys because with Enho, with Teritsuyoshi, with Ishiura, they all have back or neck issues. So I worry about that because of his height and stuff. But perhaps if he's doing all kinds of weightlifting, perhaps he's preparing himself for the big time.
Well, it's exciting.
He is also Hubba Bubba gorgeous.
Yeah, I mean, there's that.
Yeah,
there's the fabulous hair.
Ladies, I think are very impressed.
I think there's always room in sumo for the little fast guy that can take down the biggest dudes.
Yeah.
They will always have the crowd behind them. We need more Uras. We need more Teritsuyoshis.
Right.
We need more little fast guys.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited.
I am
see
too.
them up here.
They can take down the big guys, and it's always fun. So I'll be cheering him on. I hope he does well. So is that the end of this episode?
I think so. Yeah, I am so looking forward to this sumo starting. I hope you are too. Can't wait to see who wins it.
Me too. All right. Well, then until next week.
See y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.